we get to keep it. But we're live now.
Thank God.
There's always something else we got to figure out before these games, or shows, whatever the hell we do. But okay,
Here we are.
I lost track. Are we on number 13?
Oh God.
I think.
I don't know.
Lucky number 13.
We'll just have to look at the last video. Let's pull it up.
I'm severely lacking on the whole like numbering them. Got to get back to that. Well, it's been a crazy week. So we skipped last week.
Yeah.
Which we almost did. We did skip it as far as...
We skipped it as far as being in here.
Yeah, well, we also didn't push out because I never had a chance to stream that one. We have a recorded show.
It's one of the lost tapes.
Yeah, the lost tapes. We already have lost tapes.
Hell yeah. You need lost tapes to be legitimate.
Yeah, no, so we're doing good. But that was fun. We recorded that out of the trailer in Reno. Fuck, I still need to get that dug out. Maybe we'll air that.
It's not as comfy as a studio, I would say.
Those chairs aren't bad though.
They're not bad.
No,
but it is a trailer.
It's a trailer, a remodeled what is that, mobile home kind of thing. So
whereas this is a certified bedroom.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, you're supposed to keep the allure about it so people don't know. There we go.
Studio, bedroom. It's
studio.
It's semantics.
It's our fancy studio.
Hell yeah. Cheers.
Right on. That was a hell of a week. So I figure it's been almost, I don't know, 9 days or something. We both went straight back to our jobs. How the hell was that for you, man? Because we haven't really talked much since then.
It was, well, I mean, as you know, it was super busy for the both of us, but it was the first time I had done anything like that. You know, working for on-site TV.
Dude, I'm
that was
stoked for you, man.
That I was stoked to be there. It turned out, I mean, I was pretty apprehensive. So what we did was one of our jobs was for the Big Sky conference in Reno, which like I didn't even know much about basketball before this whole thing.
Still don't, but
I mean. After doing 22 games, it's funny how much I learned.
Yeah, you pick up.
The next day, I watched a basketball game at San Juan High School, the high school where I work at.
Right.
And I saw some like kids playing. I was just like, these kids suck, because I had seen like college.
Because you went from college ball, like what we were shooting too. They straight recruit people out of there to get into the NBA. Like that's
this is the big deal. It's the conferences.
Because you're working
determines who goes on to March Madness as well.
Well, it's part of March Madness.
It's part of March Madness.
So March Madness is like this massive, huge, like what we did, but there's those going on all over the country at the same time. And so it's like 60 of those, and then those winners then go into, like brackets more and more.
Which is crazy because there was a lot of basketball that happened within just that one tournament. 22 games.
In 1 week,
So you only technically worked 21, right, or something like that, because
so
ESPN took over that that last one, the 22nd.
The men's championship.
But I still worked that one.
Dude, so
I was still the rover camera for the board show.
Job,
yeah.
So at the end of that game, we went up on the little rafters on top.
Yeah, I was gonna go with you guys up, and then I got a camera shoved in my arms. Like, no. You don't get a break, buddy. You're too new.
Yeah, you're still green, bud.
Yeah, you think you're not green enough to come up here?
Yeah.
So you guys watched the game from the catwalk?
No, we went and Mikey was sitting in the back, and we had some kind bars left over, so we started dropping kind bars. And he's like looking around trying to figure out where the kind bars were coming from. It was cool.
That sounds like hell.
Cool. Yeah.
There was a lot of kind bars at that event.
Dude, kind bars are pretty tasty.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that I didn't eat any because like they're pretty handy for like getting some like protein, some last minute nutrients, because you especially in the latter part of that trip, we were working pretty much all day. Dude, we get there about 10 or 11. You're there until 10 or 11, 12-hour days.
And it's actually working too. That's towards the end we were doing the broadcast, and that's where there's no real breaks, because before the game you got to pre-record all that stuff. They're doing so it's.
So that was one of the big things, about that week for all of us, for both of us, is the first few days, Monday through Wednesday, we were on-site TV was just responsible for streaming it directly to Pluto TV.
Yep.
So we were in charge of the directing. We were calling the shots.
Right.
Thursday through Saturday, or at least until that 22nd game.
First game on Saturday. Yeah.
So several games. We were working under 11 Sports, which is one of those. It's one of those. How I describe it is like everyone knows about like the HBO sports packages, where it's just like you get all the sports.
Exactly.
It's like you pay like
you get sports
$7.99. Yeah, you get all the sports. And so if you are one of those like sportsaholics who has all of the sports channels, you probably have one called 11 Sports.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, last week it was airing that particular semifinals for that conference, and so you could have seen our work. Well, my work. You were. So what were you doing at that point when 11 Sports takes over?
I was running AD and secondary TV. We had a weird. Basically, I was AD and partial graphics integration. It's kind of a weird role.
Okay.
Without going too much into what's the whole situation of it all. Here we are. So we're about to shake around. But so what we were doing, because you had a camera, right, pointed at you, or not pointed at you, but you had a camera that you were operating, and I was operating. There's a bunch of other camera ops.
Yeah.
Now there's a TD, so that's where Will was sitting. Right.
He's the one who actually switches, right?
So yeah, basically your director sits, and that was the beginning of the week. I'd be the director. I'd tell him which cameras to do, and he'd manage each one. So I was just sitting there literally with a headset on, and I'm pointing at things.
Yeah.
You know, and
you have an eye on everything that's going on.
That's
right?
where that big multi-view where you're looking at all 8 cameras.
You see like that matrix of all the different camera angles, and so you can tell what's going on in the game and where you need to be. More importantly,
where we need to be, because I'm focusing more on the next 10 seconds or further on.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, okay, they're doing this. Here's this. I want camera to move here. Like I'm telling you guys what to do. And then I quickly say, by the way, be on camera 2, take camera 3, take this. Will's sitting there just punching those up. And then Gangler's, of course, working graphics. We got Bryson on replay, Ross producing, all these different people working together. So then I moved over. Gangler for the first 3 days was doing both graphics and assets, which is like producing the commercial packages, taking that, timing it, making sure. But then I moved over to that role. He did dedicated graphics.
Yeah.
Because once we went on DirecTV, it got really intense, and we had to so his graphics was way more, it wasn't.
It's actually legitimate. It's actually, we're like, all right, we're getting ready to broadcast for TV.
Yeah, exactly. Time. So we're TV now. We have to
everything's Pluto. So it's Pluto TV, but really, what Pluto TV is, it's very comparable to Twitch, right? Twitch streaming.
Exactly.
It's basically just it's a website where you can stream to it. People can view from it, but like the differences with DirecTV is, I guess, like there's more standards. It's kind of like different expectations because we're working for a different broadcasting company.
Well, it's what it is that you're truly on some form of terrestrial broadcast. So that's one thing that's really interesting to me, is that over the years, terrestrial broadcast still hasn't lost its allure. That you do need to maintain a certain level of quality to be TV.
Yeah, versus it's TV.
Yeah, because it's TV and
not just the internet.
There's a few things that come into play. One being the technical specs. Like you can take a cheap switcher like what we're doing, where we have a really cheap switcher and some old cameras. There's even a GoPro in our mix, and we're mixing it all together and putting it out to the internet.
Yeah.
But a TV company, they won't let you use that quality of equipment for broadcast because it has to meet a certain level. Your chip size on the cameras has to be a certain size, certain pixel count. There's particular requirements as far as signal strength and signal, all that has to be taken care of before you can be broadcast. And so that's where we worked with you notice we had a new switcher this year.
Yeah.
Because that was a broadcast caliber switcher. It's actually through and through. There's no computer in it per se. It's not like a Windows machine that's running switcher software.
So you'd call that a full broadcast when you're using that like switcher and you're like meeting those standards? Because Brian, the guy that we work for, he mentioned that it was during Reno that we had our first full broadcast with on-site TV, and that was like a big milestone for the team.
That was the first time we had a workflow that's considered broadcast caliber from beginning to end. So we had from the very sensors, well actually before that, the glass that's on the cameras was broadcast quality lenses and glass, going to broadcast quality sensors, pushing the signal, which is over HDSDI, which is a broadcast standard. It's not crappy HDMI cables or component or anything like that. We're pushing full HDSDI through to a dedicated HDSDI switcher, continuing through the chain all the way back to when we push it out to them. It's 100% broadcast legal and
100%
qualified.
It's full on legit.
It's clean, yeah. No, and it's expensive shit, but it's fun toys, So.
Yeah, but that's you gotta have to have those toys if you want to play like with the big dogs.
Well, that's
right?
it. It's literally you got to pay to play.
Yeah,
we've talked about this for years. It's like, do we want to be able to do big gigs? And it's like, to do the big gigs, you have to have the big toys. So, yeah, no, we're stoked on that, and
I'm stoked to be a part of it because this is a good time to jump on. It's like on-site TV is getting a lot more work.
Yeah,
it's like I'm stepping on right when they are doing the full broadcast. And so what's cool about that is I mean I got some pretty I had the ability to tell people that some of my shots were featured on ESPN, and that was a big deal for me because one of our shots was featured on ESPN. What night was that? Thursday night?
I think that was Thursday night.
That was Thursday night.
I shared it actually not too long ago on my Facebook. But
I've been showing it to everybody.
Yeah.
I show the clip of me getting pummeled, and then I show people the dunk because I'm more proud of the pummel. Or the pummel's funnier, but I'm more proud of the dunk that we got. Which
that shit went viral.
Yeah,
we had, I think it's 1.6 or 2 million views last time I checked.
Yeah, last time I had checked, which was like a week ago, it had like over a dozen thousand, like over 12,000 shares.
Yeah, shares alone.
Just shares alone on Twitter. So that was cool that we were featured on SportsCenter and ESPN. Well, the cool thing about that is, so now I can when I show people what I did in Reno, I can show them that dunk. And then if they were to be like, well, how do I know that you were the one, behind that camera? I'd be like, well, let me show you.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing, though, is I remember you telling me something about how you kind of avoided video for the longest time.
Yeah, it was somewhat shunned.
Yeah,
because of our upbringing.
Well, yeah, and so it's funny because to me, this is one where I was excited to be able to share this experience, but that job, it's fucking hard work, right?
Yeah, it's very physically demanding. I honestly didn't think my body could do it. I was unsure.
Yeah, physically demanding. Your brain is stressed. I mean, slightly less physically demanding for me, but more on my brain. When you're in the trailer.
Stressful though, because you're under like tight expectations all
the timeline.
Day.
It's just like you got to be ready. You got to go here. 10 seconds. Who's where? What's doing what? But it's hard fucking work.
Yeah.
But is it not a really rewarding experience?
Super rewarding. Yeah, when you're doing good and your shots are being called and you're even being complimented, those precious little like gold stars of like
the little gold star. Well, you hear your camera getting taken, you're like, yes.
Yeah. But good shot, number 7. I'm just like, yes. But it's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah. No, and so that's kind of the thing though that I always like to try to explain to people. It's that all too often I hear that same thing where people are like, I hate my job, and like there's no, like, I'm always gonna hate my job, and there's no good jobs, and there's nothing that I do that's, and it's like, no, you just need to look or try new things, like, because this is sometimes it's just having yourself open to experiences that'll lead to one thing to another, and before you know it, here we are.
I have to say though, I mean, I don't have as much work experience as you, but I mean, I've worked a lot of shitty jobs. In fact, I've even worked jobs in the audio video industry that suck, and I learned during Reno what it is that makes them suck. Our team, On-Site TV, it's an extraordinary team.
Dude,
I've never been a part of any team. Literally, like, honestly, like former bands out there, I'm kind of calling you. I've never been in any team that has been that tight.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because egos aren't as involved as they would be like in a band, and like it doesn't compare to my retail experience, like some of the teams I've been on there, because it's just like we rely on each other so much to cover each other's weaknesses,
right?
Because we all have the same goal, and that is we want to put on a good show. We want to have the team look good so we can get more work.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're doing this so we can pick up more contracts.
Right. But I think that's a huge thing what you just said though that I always forget. It's that the people you work with make your job.
100%. They were the number one reason why that week was so great.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my teammates, I wouldn't have done as well. And then I would have left that trip being like, oh, I barely pulled that off. That was kind of a shitty, stressful experience.
Right.
I didn't have as much stress that experience though because I trusted on you guys.
Yeah. No, it was great. Like I could call out. It's every single one of those people that's on that team. It's like they kill it, and I wouldn't. It was funny because me and you might have caught it, but me and Dave are at the bar afterwards. David,
the audio guy.
David, the audio guy. And he said something like, "Well, I'm glad you guys seem to like me." And I was like, "Yeah, if I had to be in anybody or with anybody in Reno, you'd be the one." And to be honest, it's like it was kind of like a cavalier, like we're bullshitting back and forth, but it was true. Like, to be honest, I'd rather have no other audio guy on that team because he makes it. Like, and he's got his shit together. Yeah. And everybody's gonna make a fault every once in a while. I slipped up. Everybody slips up, but everybody knows when they do.
It's live production.
Yeah, it's live. And the thing is that even like little slip ups that I would make, nobody in particular blame. Be like, oh, you can't be doing that. It's just like I'd be like, shit, sorry, let's move on. Should have done that. Let's go. And everybody does this, and it's just this beautiful, like, the team makes everything. So I guess that's one thing to learn. Like, I guess any job, a lot of times it's not so much what you're doing, it's who you're with.
Yeah.
Because you could do a shit job. You could be stuck in the middle of nowhere, but if you're out in the middle of nowhere with friends, it's going to be a great story.
Yeah, exactly. It's they are the ones who get you through it. And, you know, because you're going to encounter stressful situations in your work. And when you're working with people who you're not really close with, you almost kind of blame them for like the hardships. But when you're working with people that you like, you kind of just like look at it as like we're in this together. We're stuck in this situation together, and,
right. Like,
let's lean on each other.
Yeah.
And what it kind of taught me is that you got to keep looking. If you're in a situation, if you're in a work situation where you're not maybe liking that environment, but you kind of put up with it for the paycheck or whatever, I mean, do what you got to do. But like seriously, like just know that it may take some time, but like out there's like a home for you.
Yeah. That's the ones, because there's always people that will find a role. Mm-hmm. There's a dude, that's the huge thing with, you remember Dirty Jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah. He would go and interview these dudes who would crawl in sewers and knock the calcium buildup off of shit pipes, you know?
Man, what keeps them coming back?
But yeah, these dudes would like wake up and they'd come home and they'd be stoked, because now I particularly remember that one. It was like the dude was by himself, so that didn't make sense. But imagine if it's like you and your buddy,
yeah,
and you're getting paid and you got to go knock shit off. You're gonna be just joking around all day long.
Yeah, it may suck. You know, it may suck while you're doing it, but you'll at least be able to look back on that and be like, "Oh man, remember that shit job we had scrubbing calcium buildup off of toilets or something?"
Exactly. As long as you got. That's why I think it's funny, because I look back at some of the jobs that I had, and had they done like, especially even like the travel one, had they put me out in teams, had they had teams go, so much better. Like I know for the beginning, that's what they did, is they'd team people together. It's me and one tech, and we were like on the border on fucking, what's that one border crossing where they catch all the cocaine at?
Wait, are you talking about El Paso? No, okay.
It's El. Well, big fucking surprise, it's El something. But yeah, it's one of those. And we're in like this shithole hotel where there's like bars on the windows and barbed wire on one side, because that's Mexico, and the other side's like America. It's still just a shitty.
You're talking about Tijuana?
Like, no, not Tijuana. Okay. God, what is that? I can't remember the border crossing. It's through Arizona, like 3 hours south of Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, we're there, and it sucks. It's hot, and we're fucking working our asses off in the sun, or like even at night. But we're bullshitting and making jokes, and therefore the whole thing, like, it was a good experience overall.
Yeah.
Because of who I was with. Like, I had a good team.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Even if it was just me and one other dude, you know? That's probably why they do partners in, like, FBI. You always have a partner. Makes sense now.
Well, plus, I mean, like, when I talk to veterans, and you get the veterans who are like, you know, they find their military experience to be really valuable. Most of the time,
it's the camaraderie.
They were in that tight knit unit. Mm-hmm. They saw like hell and back, but they did so with their group,
it's their
team, their unit.
Well, and it becomes thicker than blood almost.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bond that I will never probably experience it unless I were to experience like a warlike situation with someone. I wouldn't have the same bond, and I'm cool with that. Like, honestly, it's that kind of a bond. Maybe I could do without it, because it's the circumstances that forge that bond.
Right.
I don't know if I would sign up for that.
Yeah. You know, well, not a lot of people choose to, but
no.
You know, either way,
you want to be glad that you have someone like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I liked about on-site TV. Every single one of them, I was pretty familiar with most of them before I went on the trip.
Yeah.
And then by the time we ended the trip, every single person, even those two guys, Steve and Zach, from 11 Sports.
Yeah, dude, those guys were awesome.
They were cool. They were good guys. They communicated well. They had expectations, but they made it clear.
Not Steve. We worked with
Dave. Yeah,
Dave, and we've worked with Dave before. He's awesome. And it's like both those guys handled the situation. You know, it's like the cool thing for me is that I could do so much. Like, my skills took us so far, you know, as far as directing.
Yeah.
But seeing those guys who had done it for years, like,
you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's every time we've been on a shoot. Like, me and Brian were sitting there and had a couple beers after the volleyball tournament we did, and we're kind of sitting there, kind of debriefing. And I looked at him, and he's like, "Dude, we learned a lot of shit." I was like, "You have no idea the amount of tricks that I just picked up."
Yeah.
From working side by side with Dave. Like, things that I didn't even know were possible. Little like, oh shit, we can utilize this, like the replay.
Man, it's kind of like a video game where like you do like a mission, and then sometimes in like the single player mission you do like a mission, and it's like you work with this like gorilla team or something like that, and you picked up this new special ability. You're like, oh cool, another for my tool chest.
Yeah,
that's kind of, I mean, that's what the Reno trip was like for me, because I do a lot of work with Dad for our family business, and I was talking about with Dad today, and he was like, oh man, I'm kind of excited about this whole Reno thing, because you picked up a lot.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, yeah, I did. For one thing, I can chase on the focus a lot better now. I've got a much better, I understand what gain is better. Yeah, like,
you know these things that
I could probably like out lead Dad. You know, I mean, he's in his twilight years.
That's the thing that's cool is that it's the ultimate harsh run. Is that we put you through like stay on focus, and you're chasing with that camera on your shoulder.
I got good. I did some like depth of field playing tricks where like I would have someone in focus, and there would be someone like 5 meters in front of them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna like, while they're both running towards me, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch the field of focus to this guy. Yeah, it was little stuff like that where I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, no, I'm like doing some cool stuff, and I'm. So I didn't get that DSLR. Yeah. Like, I told you about. Yeah. Well, yeah, I canceled it.
Drunk one night. And
yeah, so like during Reno, at one point, you're out at the clubs or something like that, and I text you. I'm just like, Joe, I'm drunk, and I'm gonna take your advice. I'm gonna get a DSLR. And you're like, I didn't know you can afford that. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm putting it on credit, but it's a good purchase. And you know, like I knew I was probably gonna cancel that.
I'll let you borrow mine if you want to fuck around with one, though.
I do think I'm gonna get one. I canceled it mainly because I wanted to make sure I'm getting the right one. I probably was gonna get the Canon Rebel. I mean, it's like
probably
one of the
same one that Pat just picked up.
Yeah, it's one of the best cheap DSLRs. It's like you're like your starting
Canon
range.
Rebel that I bought. It's a T2i I bought back in like 2008. It's 2018. That thing still functions.
Damn. Yeah.
I put that thing to hell and back, and it still puts out a great picture.
But I do think I'm gonna get a DSLR though, because and this is something that I talked to Brian about, and that is, you know, you can feel better about purchasing things when you've got a clear line of revenue attached to that item. So for example, DSLR, like I learned in Reno that I'm a decent camera operator. Like,
where'd I get to?
Here you go, brother.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, like.
Yeah,
maybe I may not be the best like photographer or videographer, but the thing is that I am now someone who was featured on ESPN.
You're good.
So that'll help me sell myself. You know, it's little things like that. It didn't change much. That, you know.
Well, like, here's the thing: is you got this confidence that was built in you now.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but you're still really green in the field.
Oh hell yeah, super green.
To be doing what you're doing already this early on, it's impressive. To be honest, like I was really stoked on some of the shots that I could just throw at you. More importantly, the part that I was stoked on is when I wasn't directing, because when I was directing I could kind of like egg you on a little, like, hey, camera 7, move.
Oh,
you know,
man.
I give you a little
enjoyed
hints.
that was one thing I wish that Jack did more, but it makes sense why the director wouldn't like be telling me where I need to be. It's kind of an expectation. You should know where you need to be.
And that's the thing, is that he's coming from a field where he's working with camera ops that do sports all day long, you should just know what you're doing. So the goal, like I was saying, is that I want by the end of the week, or not by the midweek, when I step off of director and have Jack come in, I want you guys as camera ops to be truly ready, so that way he doesn't walk in. Because my biggest fear was, as we're all a team, I don't want Jack to look at the cameras and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah. Like, you know? Why didn't you train these guys?
Yeah, like, do you guys, you know, like, he knows that me and Gangler know what we're doing in the trailer, but he's like, who are your camera ops? Because you guys hadn't done a basketball tournament yet. And so...
No, hadn't done a basketball tournament yet. In fact, I had actually never done... I'd done a couple of games for Sac State as training games for Reno. Right. But that was my first, like, expose into doing sports.
You totally killed it. It's like there was not one time where he was like, you know, there's like slip-ups that happen.
There were slip-ups.
But that's part of 12-hour days.
Exactly.
It's gonna happen. That's not because you didn't know where to go. It's like you're physically and thoroughly exhausted, and he understands, you know.
Well, like one of them, he told me to be somewhere, or he told me he was taking my shot, and I just didn't even. Sometimes I didn't hear him because the comms went out, which is one of the many things that can happen during live production. But honestly, the first time I missed his call was just because he had said, take 7, and I spaced him out. I was wrapped up in the game. I'm thinking about my back. My back was aching. So I've got like, you know, I've always had back problems ever since my adolescence.
Right.
And I was concerned about not even be able to do my job. I was able to do my job throughout that week, but it still hurt like hell.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the day, it's especially hurting. And so I'm focusing on that back pain, and I'm lost in the game, and then all of a sudden, like, I realize that my camera's being taken. I'm like whipping all over the place, and he's just like, Seven, what the hell? He's like, what happened? I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
oh fuck.
It was like a feeling of shame, and then I was just like, oh, I need to get my shit together. I need to like get into it, and it's because you don't want to let the team down.
Right.
You don't want to make everybody else look bad, because when they're taking your camera and you make a mistake like that, it may be just a little mistake, but it reminds
the overall product.
It reminds that viewer that there are like fallible people controlling the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And you want to avoid that. You want to avoid the audience like realizing that. And being reminded about that.
So there's a saying for it. It's I mean, it applies to a lot of jobs, but especially in either TV.
I learned about it in lighting. I know exactly what phrase.
Lighting,
People know you're doing your job only when you screw up.
Yeah, if people know that you're doing the job, you've done it wrong.
Yeah.
Is the point. Yeah, it's because they'll be like, what the fuck's up with this lighting?
Or it's more like I think the phrase is like, if you are doing your job well, people won't know you're doing it at all. That was something that I learned when I was doing lighting. Because I never thought about someone controlling the lighting at like a stage production, for example.
Because you never see, if you see a fuck up though, then you're like,
oh man, somebody didn't do the switch, but they had been doing every cue perfect up until then, and that's hard.
And you don't think about the lights and the physical, none of it. Same with audio.
Yeah.
If you hear the audio run smoothly, you don't think about it. But then you hear like the audio not working, or a song start way too soon, like 30 seconds early.
Yeah.
And you're like, looking, what jackass is running this operation? You know?
Being the kind of like that DJ here. I hope that DJ is watching this show right now.
It's the worst
buddy.
DJ in the world.
We got some feedback for you. All right.
Literal feedback.
For one thing, check your volume.
Yeah.
Number 2, beat match better.
He didn't.
Number 3, your mashups are out of control and you should feel bad.
Although they had a Fall Out Boy mashup.
Some of those mashups were
badass.
dope. All right. To be honest, I like to rip on the guy, but he did have some good moments.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. He was like unleashing his new Mr. Brightside mashup remix.
Oh my God, so
during that moment when like the girl had like busted her knee, and so like she's like on the court like writhing in pain,
like screaming,
and he's like, better take the attention off this girl with my new Mr. Brightside remix. Here we go.
Everybody in the audience is like, what the fuck? They're kind of looking around,
tapping their tone. They're like, this is weird. I don't like this.
I don't want to be getting.
Really though, live production, you gotta love it though, because it's true. If you're doing your job well, people won't know you're doing it at all, and yet it feels so good when you know that you're the one doing the job right.
When you hit those cues,
you know it. Yeah, you feel good.
It's you.
Feel
and it's the team. You know, that's the beauty of it. It's fucking, I don't know. That's something to take from it though. It's that there's been lots of jobs, but when you do it right. God damn. Maybe that's almost like a course you could have for somebody, you know, teach them that, holy shit, if you have, like, maybe that's, oh, you know what, see, I'm going in circles here in my head, but you know how they have those team building exercises for, like, offices?
Yeah.
And how they fail horrendously.
Synergy works.
Yeah, synergy.
Building synergy.
Yeah, we're going to go out and play laser tag or something like that. And usually it doesn't at all build team building.
Kind of like in The Office when they're all like playing Call of Duty together.
Yeah.
Like that was.
Well, that actually was a team building exercise though.
You know what? I bet that would actually work well.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
It's some time like that where everybody, because then they get to bullshit and all that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stress relief, but it teaches teamwork. I mean, teamwork is something that needs to be taught more.
Well,
sometimes in our culture we get a little bit like competitive. We get a little bit zero-sum.
Competitive is all right because that's what we're doing.
Well, there was I definitely dabbled in competition during Reno.
I have dabbled in competition. Everyone's like,
well, so me and the other rover camera in my head, I was kind of like, if her camera is getting called all the time, in my head I'm thinking like there are shots that like either one of us could have gotten, and she's the one who's getting them first. Yep. That means I'm relatively falling behind her.
Yeah.
And I'm the weak link.
Dude,
you never want to be the weak link.
Yeah, you don't want to be the weak link. So that's how I always thought of it when I was first like starting out in all the camera shows. Anything that I do, you know that the best thing is you hear your number.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. So you get creative. And that's where you start like getting shots of the crowd. Or you're like, okay, there's nothing going on here. And then you look around, you're like, what can I get that the directors, because the director will see it.
Yeah, you get that euphoric little burst. You get that like I don't even
validation.
know. What are you releasing? Like it's not adrenaline. Yeah, it's endorphins, something like that.
Same
like
stuff when
serotonin.
you give a hug.
Yeah. And so it's funny. You're like, that incentive to like get that little like burst of euphoria, it's enough to like make you innovate, which is like really, I mean, competition is very good for creating innovation, but you got to always remember though, working in like a team like this, that you're not trying to do better than them, you're trying to cover their weaknesses.
Well, it's 2 in 1. Like, of course, the competition's healthy. That's like, so the same example that I'd give, it's like me and Taryn were at the gym the other day, and it was like, what was it, a chest day or whatever, so chest and tries. Okay. And we got towards the end of it, and we'd compete where we're like, okay, body weight, so it's an even scale. You know, he's a little heavier than me, but he puts up more weight. I'm a little lighter weight than him, but I put up a little less, you know? And so it's like, okay, using our own body weight, I bet you I could do 15 of these. And, you know, you got to meet or break that. And so he'd go, or it'd be however many he could do without failing out. And then I'd go next. Yeah. And I'd just keep pushing until I got one more than him. And then he'd be like, fuck, God damn it. So then he'd jump up and have to do one more than I did on the last one. And it's a constant back and forth. Or then we'd be like, all right, we're going to go home, but we'll do 10, jump off, you jump on, do 10. I'll jump off, you do 10. And we'll just keep going until we can't do it. And whoever loses first loses. And then we go home. We ended up doing like 10 of those fuckers. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I won't be the last one. Yeah. Like, I got to be able to bang it out, you know?
Could you see yourself doing that amount of work by yourself?
No, you don't push yourself like that. Yeah. That's why having a little bit of healthy competition is good. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, because then it'll be like, ha, I beat you. There's no like true beat down of like, I'm a better human. No, it's just like, good job, I'll get you next time kind of thing.
Yeah. That's like good healthy competition. I guess it becomes unhealthy when you're like demeaning each other, almost like breaking each other down. But we don't do that because we're a good team.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're good sports.
Well, yeah, no, it was a damn good week. I'm excited you got to explore that. So that's kind of the thing, is that if nothing else, I like to kind of explain, or because I can't even explain it, but so for you, I know I've told you for years, it's like there's so much cool shit out there. And that's a huge one that I push for, is trying to explain to people that, goddamn, the jobs that are out there in this world that you don't even know exist. Because when you're in high school, do they tell you like, hey, by the way, they'll pay you a pretty decent amount of money to go hang out in Reno with a cool team and hold a camera on your shoulder? Like, that's not a job option. They never put that as a career option. They say you got to go to college and get a good job.
They usually push, like, I guess older careers more like, you know, the traditional ones, like be a doctor or be a lawyer, things like that, because those have been around for centuries. But like, there
camera ops have been around for centuries too.
Well, I mean, there's only
not
been
century probably.
Still though, I mean, like, camera, what I did, people have been doing that for at least several decades. Yeah. But you don't have as that it's becoming more well known in schools. You have like, and one thing I think that helps with that is like things like the school news. You know, you were part of that DCTV, the Del Campo
DCTV,
Del Campo television. Those media programs, which by the way, you know, like I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm sort of moving away from the teaching direction right now, which is okay because I might go back to it one day in the future. I kind of feel like that's a profession that I might get involved with maybe down the road. Yeah. But when I do, just because I kind of will need to be stretched as thin as I can with all sorts of things, I could see myself maybe being a media production teacher.
So here's a question that I have for you. And there's a few different ways it can go. But one thought that I had, and this is a huge, I mean, if nothing else, it's a push for people, because this, if I see us being on camera right now as like an excuse to broadcast this to the world, but all I see in the world of like aviation is that there's a massive shortage of technicians. Okay. Right? Like, and it's only getting worse. I was reading an article the other day that was saying like by 2022, they're going to basically, the workforce is going to retire out, and the new coming people will not meet the demand. Oh, shit, and so as of like 2-3 years from now, we'll hit that point where it's like, oh shit, we're overstressed by a lot.
You're gonna get paid well for that, I bet.
Well, yeah, it's good.
The demand on your wages will be better. So
the demand on the wages will be better, but at the same time, the working hours are gonna go up too, because there's a lot of work that just physically has to be done. So therefore, the overtime goes up and all that, which is great, but there becomes a point where like they're talking about it exceeds what a person can do.
Yeah. And then you have to look to other solutions.
Right. And so something that I thought of just the other day that I'd want to push for is over at Sac City, they have the A&P program. Okay, and that basically it's a 2-year program that prepares you when you leave there, you can get a job pretty much anywhere as a mechanic.
Okay.
There's still not a massive like program for avionics technicians, and it's because they've just recently figured out how to qualify you. And there's a test. It's called you can become an AET, which is an aircraft electronics technician or aviation electronics technician. I was looking through the test and everything because I'm getting prepared to take it in the next week. Basically, everything on the test you learn, minus a few things that are specific to aircraft, but all the electronics, it's the electronics program over at ARC.
Okay.
So if there was somebody that could teach like the extra 2 courses that fill in the required like aircraft specific things such as legality, paperwork, there's the airframe, understanding of basic mechanics of flight, that kind of stuff, and particular to aviation, the avionics gauges and whatnot, like those instruments are specialized. But I figure you can cram it into 2, maybe 3 courses. Add this on, so basically you have the electronics degree over at American River College. You take 3 more courses, you can now go and take this test and become certified as an electronics technician.
What is that, like 9 more units only?
Yeah, about 9 more units, I figure. But they'd need somebody to teach these.
Yeah, they would.
So then I was like, well, shit, what's it take to get a teaching credential? And then that's
for
where
like
I came
for a junior college, you mean?
Yeah, for a junior college.
They'd probably want a master's out of you.
Fuck that.
Yeah, because it's like, because you're at the collegiate.
That plan.
Well, yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is like when you're teaching at public school, they technically only need a bachelor's and a credential from you.
Oh God.
But
I have
when
to have
you're
a bachelor's and a master's.
Well, that's the thing though, is that if you're going to teach at the college level,
Yeah.
you would at least need a master's.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Because I know occasionally I'll just roll into ARC.
Oh, and do a guest lecture.
And I'll do my guest lectures.
Because you're a guest. You're a guest perspective.
But I'm a guest. Yeah, I'm not an actual
You're not
professor.
an academic.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I only have to bullshit for an hour or so.
I imagine you would definitely at least need your bachelor's in whatever it is. But shoot, man, like here's the thing though. You get that piece of paper, and it sounds like you're already well connected, though, at the American River College, like the engineering department, or is it
It's the electronics
department.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that you've done guest lectures and stuff like that, you'll be good at your job. If anything, that's the solace you can take in it, is you'll be better at your job than most people who would just get a master's would be.
So that's the beauty that I like about particularly ARC's electronics program, is every one of the professors there worked in industry, and they're
mostly real experience.
Yeah, everything that they do, they wrote all the books themselves. They have these workbooks, and it's funny because I even took one, and he's like, "We all wrote these from our history." And I was visiting one time, and I was like, "You realize every lab that you've produced, I have at some point in my different career paths used that exact like problem set just for a different same solution for a different problem." And then I kind of bullshitting, and I was like, I could probably rewrite your book. Not rewrite it, but I was like, I could just apply my own experiences to it and say, like, you know how they always the problem, Jim has 3 apples and Stacy has 6 oranges or whatever, but this one would be like, you're on top of a tower and the radio antenna has this much attenuation, whatever it is. I was like, I could rewrite those using experiences from my life. So they were real life that people might see. And he's like, yep. And he hands me a stack of the workbooks. And I was like, oh, shit. Now I got to fucking do all these problems out. But I would like to. Yeah, I mean, I started. I got like halfway through one book and then started drinking. And
huzzah.
Yeah, huzzah. But it's a cool idea. And so the idea of all these professors that have real life skills, that's the kind of professors that I want. That's why I related to those guys. That's why I like that program so much. Yeah. It's because they wouldn't. Like, there'd be times where they'd go, look, in the books they probably say this, but this is real life. Like, you don't need to remember resistor codes, the color code. You don't remember that shit, because it's like, you remember all the professors when we were kids? Or not professors, they were teachers back then. They're like, you need to learn this without a calculator. You're never going to have a calculator. Well, we all have calculators in our pockets. We all have a lot of shit in our pockets.
They also told me that I need to know cursive and how to write checkbooks, write checks. Didn't need either of those things. By the time I was in high school, both of those things had become far less important.
Auto pay on all your bills.
Well, what you should do is you should talk to some of these professors in your electronics department, and you should find out what you actually need. Because I'm just, like, I'm more from an academic side. I mean, I'm a history major, and so that field is strictly academic.
Right. It's very academic,
it's not like
one of the trade school.
It's not a trade school type thing. In a trade school type thing, they might make exceptions for people who are very well versed in actual real life experiences. They might. Maybe you don't need. I imagine you wouldn't need a PhD, but like they would probably at least want a master's from you, which is pretty good though, because most professors do need they don't technically need a PhD, but if you want to compete with the people who are also applying for these professor positions, you do need a PhD.
Here's the thing,
electronics, that might not be the case.
Yeah, those guys, they're great guys, but they don't really seem like they got master's degrees.
Well, it depends.
I mean, they're intelligent people.
It really does. It ultimately depends on the person.
Path, and it's like very practical skills versus, I don't know.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like the entire idea behind a master's degree is you're supposed to actually create like a body of work. You're supposed to like publish your research on the matter. And
see, now the thing is, trade schools are essentially the exact opposite. Is that versus creating people that are going to be the brightest and greatest minds of the world that'll shape new ideas. No, these are the ones that are supposed to be able to fix and solve problems that have been problems for years and years and years.
Yeah, that's why I can't speak too much about the electronics field, just because it operates differently than the other academic fields that I know about.
Well, it's because it's electronics and technician work of any sort. Yeah. It's more of a blue collar world,
would you consider it STEM? Right, it's STEM because was it a subfield of engineering?
Yeah. God, I don't know.
Technology?
Actually.
What is it, like a hybrid of technology and engineering?
Yeah.
I mean, it's STEM. Yeah. Electronics is STEM, right? But it's kind of like a more...
I don't know. Well, I mean, on a broader sense...
That's a good question. But it's definitely, like, it's considered like a trade school. I don't know.
Yeah, because, it's a lot like they have welding courses or welding programs. Mm-hmm. That's basically what the electronics program is. It's a welding program, but it's for electronics instead of fabricate. Or they have automotive.
Like you're there for like 2 years.
Yeah, you go to UTI or whatever to get an automotive degree in trade school. You go to Harley school. You go to fabrication school. All these different types of trades that you do. Because that's where it is. It puts you in this technician level. It's not. You don't leave there as an engineer. Essentially, you do with an engineering degree.
Yeah. But
you leave as a technician. God, I don't know. I wonder if it qualifies as STEM, because it is science.
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
That pretty much solves it then, yeah.
Technology
kind of sounds like it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I thought maybe it's a little bit of engineering in there, but yeah, maybe it's mostly technological. But the point is that I don't know too much about all that because I'm not STEM.
Yeah. You're not STEM. You're the exact opposite there, yeah.
I mean, of the more abstract fields, I'm one of the better ones. At least I don't have a sociology degree. I'd probably be more hard pressed to find work with that.
Touche. Or an art degree. Then
again, history is.
Sorry, Rob.
History's not much better though. I mean, basically like my degree, they're like, oh, you have a history degree. That's going to be better than sociology and art. You want to teach, right? And then if I'm like, nah, I don't really want to teach history at the public level. He had archaeology and he had a PhD. And his dad was like, he was best friends with people at Oxford and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. They all had connections and whatnot, yeah.
No, I mean, and also most of Indiana Jones' success came from the fact that he was a badass martial arts guy. Like,
I don't think he did martial arts.
So he got in fist fights, right? Like his whip stuff. Like the point is that he was successful mostly because of his athleticism, I would say.
Yeah,
and his cunning.
It was the cunning part, because you remember there was the scene where the guy gets his sword out and swings it all around.
Yeah,
and then he just shoots him.
Well, that was just good memory. He's like, wait, I have a gun.
Yeah. Well, because I remember actually not reading.
Yeah, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, because they're like, you're gonna have a fight scene with this guy, and
he's
like,
awesome.
You're gonna whip, and then they had this whole thing choreographed.
Yeah. He's like, why don't I just shoot the guy? But he's like, I have
a gun on my hip. Why don't I just shoot him?
Why don't I just shoot the fucking guy?
Right.
Oh, damn it, Ford. That sounds like that could be an iconic scene right there.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it was just like that.
And it was.
Yep.
Well, shit, man.
And you thought I wouldn't find a way to tie this back to a Harrison Ford movie.
Dude, it's always about Harrison Ford.
It's the Star Wars movies, the Indiana Jones movies. What else is he in? American Graffiti.
Blade Runner.
We haven't
and
talked
also,
about Blade Runner ever.
Fucking... Oh,
dude.
I haven't seen Blade Runner.
Okay.
Also, Firefly... Or what was that one? It was Firewall. You remember that? It was a shitty.
Oh Jesus! How did I forget? No, not Firewall.
It's the one where his family gets kidnapped or something like that, and he's like, "I want my family back."
You're not talking about Air Force One, right?
I'm talking about Firewall. Firewall. Yeah, his family gets kidnapped. He has to do some things on the internet with terrorists to get his family back, and he's like telling them, he's like, "I want my family back." You know what's
a better movie with terrorists than Harrison Ford?
Pretty much anything else. Yeah, anything else that he's been in.
Probably. Apparently, that's a bad movie. Huh.
I almost voted for Mitt Romney back in 2012 just because he kind of looked like Harrison Ford did.
You could vote back then?
Yeah, that was the first election. I had turned. I was 18. Yeah, I was 18 during 2012. Yeah. Huh. I almost voted for Mitt Romney just because I was like, this guy.
But he has magic underwear.
He reminds me of Harrison Ford in Air Force One. And then I was like, wait, no, that's a stupid metric.
Yeah, it is a stupid metric.
That's a stupid metric to use to like vote for someone.
Well, assuming that someday he would get Air Force One hijacked and he would be the president on there.
He would have killed it. He would hands down would have killed it.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like he wouldn't have done as good a job as Harrison Ford.
I mean, it is Harrison Ford. You can't. Those are some high expectations to hold someone.
That's the magic.
He's willing to put his pets on the roof of his car for what needs to be done. All right, he's the pragmatist we need in office.
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, he was right about Russia at least.
Why is he right? Did he say all that? See, here's the problem.
Yeah, he warned. Yeah, back in like 2012, there was some debate where he was like, "I believe that Russia is one of the biggest threats," and then Obama's just like, "You're still
right."
Dude, 1988 called. They want their foreign threat back.
Soviet Union calls, yeah.
And then like 2 years later, Crimea gets invaded.
Son of a bitch.
So yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I voted for Obama, but yeah, he was kind of.
So maybe Mitt was on track. Huh?
Mitt was on it about that. He did call Russia.
These weird names though.
Mitt, I know.
I remember the kid Mitt.
Some sad Mormon.
They're like, oh,
Mormons, name your kids better things.
Keep my hand warm. Like what?
Like maybe they named him Mitt so that way people wouldn't make so many like polygamy jokes about Mormons. They would just make like bad names jokes. Maybe that's a better stigma to have.
A red herring or a scarecrow.
Yeah, a red herring, a red scaring or something.
A red scaring.
It's like people will focus on our shitty names and not our polygamy habits.
That's clever. Speaking of which, the Book of Mormon went down recently.
Oh, it came to Sacramento?
Yeah, it was right around the corner. Or maybe it's
I haven't seen it. I would love to see it though.
Yeah, we got to make a point to go see that one of these days.
That one in Hamilton. I want to see that one. I don't see enough Broadway.
I don't think I've seen any Broadway.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Other than Nutcracker, I've seen way too much Nutcracker. Totally good off of that.
Nutcracker's great.
Done watching the Nutcracker for the rest of my life.
Yeah, because you're in the video business. Like when you're in the video business, you see a lot of Nutcracker.
We started out in the dance recital side of
Some
video.
of us didn't leave the dance recital side of video.
Sorry, bud.
That's what I'm doing tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yes, River City Theater Company is very good. You did some of their productions, right?
No, they're actually really good.
They're really good.
They're little, like those kids are gonna be stars.
Dude,
someday.
some of those kids, I actually wanted to like almost propose to them that I would personally make their highlight video. Like some of the actors on this like River City Theater Company team, they're funny as hell.
I think they started like 10 years old or something.
A lot of them do start young.
Age out at like 16 or something. It's early.
18. No, they age out at senior year of high school.
But yeah, because it's a high school thing. But these kids, it's like they got voices and shit that are better than
comedic chops. Comedic chops. Some of them have some like really good comedic chops. They do some really good impressions.
Yeah.
Like
and they so real quick before we wrap this up because we gotta get out of here. But you know Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic actor. You can tell that he started in Broadway because of like the way he kind of acts or something. Or maybe it's just off air that I've known.
It's kind of their persona.
But it's a really larger than life kind of exaggerated persona, right?
Yeah. The cheek muscles are all fucking toned as shit.
Yeah, because he's always smiling. But so that's what you see. It's like literally I see these kids following that same footpath. Yeah. They're fucking fantastic.
They've got as good of a shot as you would expect any kid to have.
Better than most. And like their parents set them up. Like some of them, hopefully they like what they do. You know,
you would have to. I mean, like, yeah, if you want to get into acting, you gotta love what you do because you're gonna deal with some shit. Yeah, but
you gotta remember that you're dealing with kids that have been put through acting courses since they were like old enough to walk.
Yeah.
So some of those kids that are in there, like they hit 18 and they burn out and they're done.
They burn out and they're done. You can tell the ones that actually enjoyed the entire ride through.
Because they got a little more enthusiastic.
They're the ones who actually have a chance.
Holy shit! But yeah, some of those kids are fucking good.
They're pretty good, and yet they are still gonna have like a steep uphill battle because there's so many out there.
Well, that's just Sacramento. You think every big city, Sacramento's not even that big, but every city has like those. Yeah, right. You put all those together, you got like 3,000 on that caliber that go to these like American Idol editions and all that.
Yeah, they're going to the big theater schools too.
Yeah, they're all out there, and then they all migrate to LA. And compete against each other.
New York,
see, like, a fraction of them. Yeah, between New York and LA. And it's just, I mean, chops to them for trying, but god damn, it's a hell of a career path. Here's the thing, though, I still believe that if you try hard enough, because you know what the competition you're up, you bust your ass, you'll get there.
You'll get somewhere at least. I think you'll get somewhere. Yeah. You'll get somewhere. You can't, because when you think I'm gonna get there, you have a specific destination in mind. Yeah. But that's not how life works. A lot of times we have like a destination in mind, but where we end up, a lot of times we look back after we make it to where we actually end up, and we say that was better than what I thought there would be.
Imagined, yeah.
So you gotta have that kind of a mindset, because sometimes you'll actually end up somewhere that wasn't at all where you wanted to be, and you gotta be able to keep trucking so that you end up there, wherever there was meant to be.
Well, and it's ultimately that you'll find something you didn't even know existed usually. Yeah. So, or what is it? As simple as the quote gets, it was like, I hope you don't find what you're looking for. I hope you find something better.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never heard that quote, but that alone sounds great.
Thank you. Random Instagram fucking pictures with words on them.
Pinterest post number 376.
Exactly. It's one of those Pinterest thingies that you see fly by or whatever. But yeah, that's...
You know, sometimes wisdom could be simple like that, though. I mean, it's like, you really do got to keep it in that perspective that where you were meant to end up changes. It's subjective.
Well, shit. I mean, this going full roundabout circle.
Yeah.
When we started this, literally when we're driving back, or one of these days we were walking to the bar from the event center in Reno to the bar in Circus, and you're like, holy shit, I never thought that this could be a potential career path for me.
I was hoping, that week before I went on that trip, I was thinking, you know what, there's going to be a lot that I'm going to learn on this trip. Yeah. And it turned out that trip went better than I thought it would, and I had some pretty high expectations, and it still went better than I expected.
You never know how to expect. It's just going to be a hell of a ride, you know?
Buckle up, really. The only thing you can do is just like hope that you make it. And do your best, but...
Well, shit, man. On that, you're out of drink.
I'm out of drink.
I'm about to finish this. Let's end this fucker.
Let's do it.
It's been good.
Yeah. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. It's St. Patrick's Day. We're both
coming
working.
Up tomorrow. Yeah.
Back to it, man. All right. Let's do the thing.